Hi, my name is Tammy, and welcome back to Tammy Vision. Today I'm going to discuss Charm City, Episode 6, Monopoly. So let's get into it. Now, this episode was all about stability and ownership because all of the girls are on shaky ground. Now, I named this episode Monopoly for a couple of different reasons. Now, if you've been watching this series thus far, you know that Charm likes to pull from her childhood experiences and teachings that she's learned from her father. And even in episode 1, we see the episode opening with Charm actually playing Monopoly with her mother on family game night. So Monopoly was one of the games that Charm loved to play as a child, so she understands about power and positioning and about ownership, but she is struggling with that now in real life. And this episode was also called Monopoly because the girls are either trying to find a place to live or struggling to maintain where they live. So essentially, they are in a big game of Monopoly. And I also like this episode because it shows the girls on a Saturday. It shows them individually instead of showing them on the Monday through Friday hustle and bustle when they're at Embolden magazine. So the episode opens with Charm looking for an apartment. So in the midst of doing this, she runs into Raven at a coffee shop. And then Raven asks, hey, why are you on my side of town? And Charm reveals, hey, I'm looking for an apartment. As you know, right now I'm living in a hotel and I eventually have to find somewhere to live. I can't live in a hotel all my life. But Raven takes this as Charm knows she's going to get the job because Charm is the front runner. So Charm is being proactive. And then Charm is like, no, I'm from a small town and I came way up here for this internship. And whether I get this internship or not, I'm not going back home. So, to anyone that has lived or lives in a small town, and I can attest to this, living in a small town, you may have big dreams and big hopes. And there are things that you want to do and achieve that you know you cannot achieve in that small town. So a lot of people end up having to leave their small town for bigger cities, which is what Charm had to do. And like I said, if you come from a small town, you know how suffocating that can be to have these big dreams and goals, but to look around and not see any semblance or resemblance of that. And whether you want to leave home or your small town or not, you know that eventually you have to. And Charm is saying, whether I make it here at Embolden Magazine or not, I'm not going back home. And if you've been watching this series up to this point, you know that Charm is from a small town in Mississippi, and Charm moved to Atlanta, and she's been living in a hotel to be a part of this internship in hopes of getting this job. But also the thing with Charm is, even if she doesn't get the job, there's no home to go back to because if you watch, like I said, from the beginning of this series, you know that Charm and her mother lost their home. So there is no home to go back to. And although Charm and Raven are friends, they are the closest out of the whole bunch. I think this is where Raven and Charm differ. Charm is thinking steps ahead, and Charm has been shaken out of her situation to where she has no choice but to move forward. I think with Raven is so caught up and fixated on trying to prove herself. If not to Embolden Magazine, she's trying to prove herself to Beverly. She wants to be respected and valued, and she's so caught up in that. But Charm is saying, if you are not respected at Embolden Magazine, if you feel like Beverly's not giving you your just due, take what you have and go somewhere else and get it. Raven also mentions that at one point in time when she first started Embolden, she was Beverly's favorite, but now Charm is Beverly's new shiny toy. Once again, instead of Raven focusing on what she needs to do to improve herself at Embolden or just go somewhere else, she's still caught up in how Beverly views her. And I think this may be Raven's downfall in a sense. And I also get a sense of a little bit of jealousy. Although Raven likes Charm and she wants Charm to get the job, I think it's still odd for Raven to be rooting for Charm, knowing and feeling that that position probably should have gone to her, or that she should at least be in the running. Raven mentions once again of Beverly's friend that Beverly supposedly stole the Emboldened magazine concept from, and that this lady is now coming after Beverly. So, in the midst of Charm and Raven having friendly conversation, there are different things happening here, and we see where Raven and Charm may kind of clash. Raven is, in a sense, very complacent, and Charm is like, can't be complacent. I gotta get it one way or another. And I also get a sense with Raven that somewhere in her life, someone told her she wasn't good enough, or she wasn't valued enough, or validated enough. And you see this sometimes in mother daughter relationships. I just kind of feel that Raven feels like she has to prove herself, and she is trying to show that she is worthy and that she is valuable, but it's something deeper, which is why I feel that Beverly easily rips right through Raven. She just really doesn't stand a chance. She's just too vulnerable to handle someone like Beverly. And like I said, this could be due to maybe some childhood trauma or something, or someone in Raven's life told her she was not good enough. Unlike Charm, who has always had her father there believing in her, although he's no longer there, she still draws from those experiences. And I don't think Raven has had someone pouring into her, which is why I think she's constantly trying to prove herself. Now on to Avery. Now, I have to admit, kind of got a soft spot for Avery, and I will tell you why. So Avery is from a small town in Alabama. She moved to Atlanta, Georgia at the age of around 16 or 17 to make money, to kind of hustle, because where she's from, things are not abundant. So Avery has several siblings, and she's a breadwinner in her family. She takes care of her family and her mother. So Avery is that one in the family that takes care of everybody. She goes out and she makes the money and she sends the money back home. She's very independent. She has a hustle mentality, but not necessarily because she wants to hustle, but that is the hand that she has been dealt. So she is trying to do the best that she can with that hand. And Avery is also the girl that kind of has that hard exterior, who's very composed and just gets the job done, but underneath she is crumbling and fighting for dear life. At Emboldened, we see Avery always polished, always on time. You really never catch Avery slipping, but in her real life, things are all over the place. So Avery's scene in this episode opens with her on the phone with her landlord. She is discussing rent payments. Avery is late on her rent payments, and we hear her telling the landlord, hey, I left underneath your door last month's rent, and I'll pay you this month's rent next week. So Avery is struggling. Now, as we know, at one point in time, at the beginning of the series, Avery did work at a strip club as a bartender, where she made a lot of money, a lot of good money, the bulk of her money. But we also know that Avery has other side hustles. For example, we also see her on the phone with her sister talking about one of Avery's online jobs that her sister runs for her, but something happened with some orders and it costed Avery a lot of money. And then we hear her sister also tell Avery that their mother is at work on a Saturday working overtime. So there are a lot of things going on. We can definitely see financially Avery's life is different. And I get a sense from Avery that she is someone that if she had the opportunity, she would have went to college, got a good corporate job, and just worked her way up the ladder and did very well for herself. But with her circumstances and her growing up not really having a lot of money and having all these siblings and having to take care of her family, she needed to come out to the big city and make a lot of money fast, which is why she went to go work at the strip club. But Avery never wanted to get caught up in that lifestyle, which is why she's very defensive when she's speaking to people and they say, for example, her landlord says, I thought you were a stripper at the strip club. Don't strippers make a lot of money? Avery once again defends, I was never a stripper, I was a bartender. And Avery doesn't have anything against strippers or stripping. She just wants to separate herself from that world because Avery never wanted to be a part of that world. She was just thrusted into it because of her circumstances and needing the money. But the most heartbreaking thing about Avery's scenes in this episode is that it's already heartbreaking that someone as young as Avery, you can tell she's been doing this for a long time, that she's been taking care of her family for a very long time. This just didn't start yesterday. But to have her go out and leave her family, go to the big city, go hustle and bustle and get side jobs, work at a strip club, and to make a lot of money and send this money back home, and to hear her sister tell her that her mother is still working overtime, that the money is not enough, things just keep popping up. It is just not enough. To do all of that and to still see and hear that your family is struggling is heartbreaking, which is why Avery found herself working at a strip club, which is why she stole the money, because she knew when she left the strip club that she may need that money to either send home, to keep for herself. Either way, Avery knows that she's in trouble. She either has to return this money, use it on herself, or send it home. But either way, if she does not find a way to return that money, this will not end well. Now moving on to Blassie. Now we all know that Blassie comes from a very wealthy and prominent family, but up to this point we know that Blassie has been cut off financially from her father, and her father's girlfriend slash fiance has been stripping things away from Blassie one by one. And so Blassie has been getting help from this restaurant owner named Pam, who's been very helpful with helping Blassie get back on her feet. She even employed Blassie at her restaurant part-time to help bring some money back into Blassie. And like I said, although Pam has been very helpful in helping Blassie get back on her feet, in this episode we see that Pam is kind of getting aggravated with Blassie, or Pam is starting to realize why Blassie's in the predicament that she's in. Blassie makes mention that before being employed at this restaurant, she had never used a dishwasher or washed dishes before. And Blassie automatically says, hey, don't judge. I grew up with housekeepers. I come from money. What did you expect? And then Pam is like, I'm not mad at you for that. That's on your parents. But what does bother me is your underdevelopment. Regardless if you are rich or if you are poor, there are certain skills as an adult, especially an adult of Blassie's age. There are certain skills that you should just know or should have adapted to by now. And I think it's very disheartening for Pam to hear that Blassie, being at her big age, does not know or is just now learning how to wash dishes or run a dishwasher. And I think it kind of makes Pam wonder, if she is just now learning how to wash dishes, what else does she not know how to do? And their dynamic is interesting because you have this entrepreneur, this restaurant owner who is hands-on, who does everything for herself, versus someone like Blassie, who has been well kept, well taken care of, who has had everything done for her or handed to her. So eventually they were going to clash at some point. The thing with the Blassie is she kind of lives in this little pink bubble where she's been sheltered, and she doesn't know what the realities of the real world are. She definitely is not prepared for it. And Pam is just trying to shake some reality into her, letting her know that no one is coming to save you. You have been stripped overnight from your wealth. There is no daddy's little girl anymore. There is no I'm some rich little heiress. You are out here by yourself. Wake up. And then on the other hand, can you blame Blasi for her upbringing? Is it really her fault that her parents sheltered her and gave her money and did not show her the realities of the world, and that they did not prepare her for what it's like to be on your own? So it's kind of like Blasi's parents really did her a disservice, but at the same time, it is still up to Blasi to be in control of her life and to be responsible for her life. And Pam feels like this could not have come at a better time for Blasi. And also, I kind of get the sense, and I don't know if you all caught on to this, Pam used to be a Blasi. Pam came from wealth and privilege, but something happened in Pam's life where her life was shaken up and she had to go out there and just get it out the mud. She had to go out there and get a degree in business and become an entrepreneur. And she had to overnight just kind of make a way and a life for herself. And Pam knows how hard that is. So she is trying her best to tell Blasi, like, hey, been there, done that. You need to take back control over your life, and you need to discover and find out who you are outside of your father's wealth, outside of your father's name, because this is not going to serve you. And as you can see, you are out here and you don't even have practical survivor skills to survive. And that is not only dangerous, but scary. And Pam knows it all too well. Pam is that parent that Blasi never had, but should have had. And I feel like the reason that Pam and Blasi cross paths because they are one and the same. Pam is a more reformed, older version of Blasi, and she is trying to help a younger version of herself. And I also think that out of all the girls, Blasi has had the biggest growth, or she is the one that will probably grow the most. And to Blasi's credit, being rich and wealthy and then overnight losing everything, that is a lot for anyone to handle. And although Blasi is still kind of aloof about certain things, you still do see the fight in Blasi. You do see her fighting for her life. I mean, Blasi, after losing her car, she did walk to the restaurant. She did ask Pam for a job. And I do think Blasi is doing and handling the situation better than most thought she would have, considering. So we have Charm, who started the season pretty much homeless. We have Avery now struggling to pay her rent and trying to stop herself from getting evicted. We have Blasi, who is losing everything as we speak and doesn't even know if she'll have a home to go to. And then we have Raven, who is trying to keep up with a certain lifestyle, but may have to downsize if she doesn't get a raise. So each and every character has their own dilemma, and all of them, if you look deeper into their stories, are worthy of this position. They are worthy of this job, or at least I could see and be okay with any one of them getting this position. So the question that I'll leave you with today is, out of Charm, Blasi, and Avery, who are you rooting for? Who do you think is most deserving of the job? And also at the end of the episode, who was Charm speaking with on the phone and why? Please leave your thoughts and comments below in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in episode 7.